Congrats on getting beyond $1 million. What got you here won't always get you there. This is a podcast for entrepreneurs who want to reach beyond their 7-figure business and scale to 8, 9, and even 10 figures. I'm Brad Weimert, and as the founder of Easy Pay Direct, I have had the privilege to work with more than 30,000 businesses, allowing me to see the data behind what some of the most successful companies on the planet are doing differently. Join me each week as I dig in with experts in sales, marketing, operations, technology, and wealth building. And you'll learn some of the specific tools, tactics, and strategies that are working today in those multi-million, 8, 9, and 10-figure businesses. Life can get exciting beyond $1 million.
Well, Sam Khorramian, you are mostly a great friend of mine. And I thought I would celebrate an opportunity for us to hang out and talk today.
I'm always into celebrations with you, especially if they involve a little bit of champagne.
Well, pop, motherfucker.
That was a good pop.
Yeah.
Well popped.
It's a good way to do it. So, Sam, I've known you for 12 years, maybe? 10, 12 years?
I'd say at least 12.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's probably 2010?
9?
Yeah, probably 2009, 10.
Crazy. And at the time, that was really, when did Big Block Realty officially start?
2013.
Yeah, so that was really before any of it.
Yeah.
And it's been an interesting ride, man.
It has.
Yeah, it's been an interesting ride. So how I like to introduce you to people is when I'm trying to convey a professional point and highlight you is that Big Block is a flat fee brokerage, real estate brokerage, residential in San Diego that does a lot of stuff that is kind of vertically integrated, meaning that you guys do title and some other things as well, own other real estate companies.
Yep.
But the thing that gets people that I think creates weight for people is that you were, what I was saying was that 3 years in a row, you were on the Inc. 500, but like 30 or under and right around there, right?
Yeah.
So like 23, 32.
26, 31, 33.
Perfect. Yep. Which is kind of ridiculous, right? Like very, very, very few people hit that list that low ever. And to do it multiple years in a row, like Inc. is based on growth over time. So
3-year spans.
To do it consistently is impressive. And then this year, you were 56?
Yep.
Yeah, man, that's big. So I love telling people that.
So do I.
It sounds good. It sounds good. I would imagine that what you did to hit that the first time, what caused the growth the first time you hit it, is different. Like the actions are different than they were this last year.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because the first time we hit it, we were doing the basics.
Well, let's cheers first.
Yeah. That's irresponsible of us.
Absolutely. Cheers. It's delightful.
It is. I needed that. So, the first year you hit it, one, it's easier. I don't want to say it's easy to get up that high, but it's easier because you're competing against year one revenue, right? So it's the first year started, you can't apply until you've been in business for 3 years because they compare year one to year three. So you're starting against close to zero revenue, right? And then 3 years in, hopefully you've done well. But in the first 3-year span, it was the basics for us. It was, and we don't have to get into all the details, but just things that worked well, but trying to get past that and maintain it, we had to really bring in a bunch of different products and services and offerings and really stacking the deck with not just the ways that we attract our clients, but also ways to maximize the revenue on those clients, right? And then funny enough, this last one, because we went 26, 31, 33, and then we jumped down to like 1,900, 2,200. And it's funny because I knew we made it this sixth year, and the list came out, and I didn't look at it for like a week and a half because like we're going to be in the 4,900 somewhere. Like
that's not exciting.
Almost embarrassing compared to the beginning, right?
That's how I feel. We were like 2,200 this year, and I literally didn't even tell the team or anything.
I remember because Oliver's like, should we apply this year? I was like, no, man, we're going to be in the 4,000s. Like, embarrassing, not even worth it. So we ended up doing it, and we're sitting in a meeting talking about some other stuff, and I just keep seeing people post about their Inc. 500. Anyways, I look online and we're number 56. I'm like, holy shit, like I can't, this has to be a mistake. But I say that saying, it's funny because this last year, we went back to the basics from year one, right? Like the past 7 years, we were doing a bunch of new things, hacking and trying everything. But the interesting about hacks is they're only a hack until someone talks about it on stage, right? Especially in an event like we're at now. So we went back to the basics of things that were working for us before. And we also just got lucky, like the real estate market this past year with COVID, you know, everyone heard it was just insane. So we had our best year, and we also were forced to go back to our basics because a lot of the things that we wanted to do didn't apply in a COVID world, or, you know, Facebook and all the different ad platforms hate real estate ads. So we're in the special ad category. So a lot of the things that were working were no longer working, and we had to go back to the basics.
What do the basics mean to you?
I think the fundamental basics for us have always been about three things. One, a very, very strong focus on sales and conversions, which I'm sure you've talked a lot about in these interviews. And I think especially in my world, in the real estate brokerage world, a lot of people become brokers because they don't want to sell anymore. They don't want to be an agent. So they decide, I'm going to hire a bunch of salespeople so they do all the selling and I can sit in the owner's box. But the reality is you got to sell your face off to recruit agents to come work for you.
Yeah.
The sale is just as hard.
Yeah.
So it's been sales or harder because this is how they get paid. They're not buying a widget or anything like that. Second for us has always just been being very different than our competition in terms of everything we put out. You know, most brokerages, they look and smell and taste the same, right? It's always real estate world looks like real estate world. So we're always trying to break that mold. And when people see us and the things that we do, it's not traditional. And I think that over the course of time, it helps our customer, which for us as agents, realize that we're different. But then lastly, and most importantly, for us, it's always been customer service. I'm a really, really big believer that if you under-deliver, over-promise, create a wow experience that is truly remarkable, you know, and people use the word remarkable, but oftentimes I don't even think that they know what remarkable means. Remarkable to people means, oh, it's good. But the actual definition of remarkable is worthy of remark. Mm-hmm. And when you create something that's worthy of remark, then all of a sudden your customers are your advocates. Mm-hmm. And for us today, about 60, 70% of our growth is all organic in the sense that agents are telling their agent friends, their agent relatives, like we have so many moms that'll join and then bring their daughter or their son or vice versa, you know? So customer service has always been our main thing. And we always talk about it with the team. You know, customer service for us is not just a department. It's actually what we are in the customer service business. Being a broker or a brokerage is just the vehicle that we use in business, but our business is to deliver consistent wow experiences that compel people to pay attention, make them consider to make the move to us, and then lastly, get them to stay and bring their friends. And I remember, maybe not even 2 years in, a year in, we were at a little corporate retreat, and Corey Boatwright was there. And you know Corey Boatwright.
Oh, yeah.
We had this thought, at the time we had maybe like 60 agents. Today we have, over 1,200. And the thought was, man, if we could just figure out a way to have every agent refer one agent a year, just bring one friend, then we double in size every year. And if we can double in size every year, we're freaking onto something.
Yeah.
And then all of our focus went around, one, creating the experience, the culture, the service, and then two, having fun, different creative ways to make our agents remember that we want their referrals. We want them to refer us and talk about us to their friends. So I think I've told you about our Mercedes giveaway thing.
Yeah.
So we started to give away a Mercedes every year. Every time an agent referred an agent to join the company, name goes in the hat. At our holiday party, we give away a Benz. And we just started to stack the deck with a bunch of different just fun ways to make them remember to recruit us. but we were always cautious that we didn't want to make them feel like that's what we needed them to do. We didn't want them to think your job is a recruit for us. We just wanted to be top of mind and make it fun.
One of the things that you said right away, and you addressed it, but you were talking about your customers. And it came out later that you see your customers as agents.
Yeah.
Right. And that's actually a really important distinction, because as a real estate brokerage, one would argue, and I would say a lot of people's brains would go to, the end buyer of the real estate is the customer, right?
It's funny you say that, because that's part of our recruitment pitch. When I'm talking to an agent or our team, is somewhere in the pitch we say, look, there's a lot of things that make us different, but at the core of it, the DNA of our company is that we believe you as the agent are our customer. And if we do right by you, you'll do right by the end consumer that's buying or selling real estate. And we feel very strongly that most of our competition thinks that their client, our broker competitions, think that their client is the end consumer, and you're just a middle person in that process.
Right.
So we pour our resources and attention onto you, knowing that if we do that, you'll do well by the client, and our own agenda will do really well, because if we focus on our customer, which is the agent, then we'll get more agents. And as a broker, look, in any business, if I'm an agent, I need consumers to grow my business. If I'm a broker, I need agents to grow my business. Anything that you're in the business of, sales and conversions fixes every single problem that you have, right? Any problem you have in business can be fixed by sales and conversions. So I think that in all businesses, people get confused as to what they should be focusing on. We really just focus our resources and our attention on getting agents. And it's funny, because just the other day, my wife's grandma was at the house, and she's like, I see real estate companies sponsoring like Little League, and I see them sponsoring these different things. Like, why don't you guys ever do that? And I said, look, we sponsor and we get in the community, but I'm not spending money, attention, bandwidth on getting in front of the consumer's eyeball. I'm spending my resource to get in front of my target customer, which is the agents. So yeah, we sponsor things, but if you're not in the agent world, you're not going to see it.
I love that. So when you talk about customer service, is the customer service team focused on the agents?
Yep.
Or when you talk about customer service, is there customer service around the end buyers?
All around the agents. So I'll kind of break that down a little bit. One of the things that we did early on is we knew that we wanted to be service-based. And we got a lot of this from Tony Hsieh's book, Delivering Happiness, right? I was young and broke, and I read this book, and I'm like, it all made sense to me. And if you haven't read the book, it's, in my opinion, a must-read for any entrepreneur. I was so impressed by the book that I flew everybody to their, they do the office tour thing. And that really started to form our track in the customer service world. But my point being is, we stopped calling our staff that's in the customer service department as customer service, and we classified them as agent concierge.
Love it.
And in our process, when we're talking to clients or agents that we're trying to recruit, when we talk about that department, we say, look, agent concierge has one job, that the answer is always yes. Short of us paying your bills, you call us for anything, the answer is yes. Now, what's the question? And that's just instilled in everybody. And that's as simple as, hey, I'm running late. Can you print some docs for me and have them ready for me to come pick up? Or as far as, I'm showing some clients some homes in an area that I'm not familiar with, and I want to take them to Chinese food. Can you find a Chinese restaurant, make me a reservation? Whatever they want, we're always going to say yes. And it's that little thing that is really easy to do. And frankly, no one takes us up on. They don't call and say, can you make me a reservation? But the fact that they know it's there, they talk about it. And the fact that they know it's there, we have to remember that in the employee, even though agents are independent contractors, they're still working under our company. What people oftentimes want more than income is security and safety.
100%.
And
it's also why most employees are employees, right?
Correct.
That is the reason to be, and I guess 1099s as an agent are a little different, but it is the gap between you and I, between entrepreneurs that have no security and the endeavors that we go down, or an employee. The key differentiator is they want security.
Yeah.
Right?
They want recognition, security, safety, almost more than they want the money, right? And oftentimes we will pay less than our competition when we're bringing on staff, not agents. We'll pay less than some of the other companies out there, but when they come in and they experience, one, the culture, two, the sense of security, the fact that we're in their corner. We don't call anyone like employees. I never say I'm the boss. Like, we just create this environment that we're one unit and we're all pushing together and we have your back, and you know, we encourage them to make mistakes. Mm-hmm. You know, I tell everybody, if they're under my supervision, I say, look, like, I brought you on because I don't want to worry about this. But for me to not have to worry about this, you have to not worry about me getting upset if you mess something up. And I encourage you to swing the bat, and sometimes you're going to mess it up. But what I promise is going to happen is you're not going to get scolded. Rather, I'm going to sit down with you and we're going to look at it at a case study and say, okay, what happened here and how can we fix it and do it different next time? And I think that really empowers our people to get creative and make decisions. And it also helps me and my partners, because those got-a-minute meetings, like, got a minute, I need to ask you, should I go this way or that way? Those things, as the entrepreneur, as a leader, kill your time. Those got-a-minute meetings just keep stacking up, and the next thing you know, it's been all day, you haven't opened your laptop, you haven't moved your own needle, because you're just taking all these got-a-minute meetings. So we've really focused on making our lives easier by empowering them to feel like, you know, they can make decisions and they can run, and if they mess up, that's okay. We get to learn from it.
Do you think that the foundation of that is because you personally just fuck up as a human all the time and it makes you feel better about yourself when you let your employees do it also?
You know, I never thought about it that way, but yes, I guess that's true, Brad. Thanks for bringing that up. Brad.
No, actually what I was going to say is you have an interesting dynamic in culture from that perspective, because I say that playfully because we're very good friends, but the fact of the matter is, the way that you interact with your staff is unique from how other people do. So like when we hang out socially, the frequency with which you have somebody in the company around is high. And it's like, and you're like, oh, this is my dude. This is my guy, right? That's the language. Yeah. And they serve some role in the Big Block ecosystem, and they are employed by you. But the way that you interact, the communication that you have, your demeanor doesn't seem to be much different with them than it would be with me or with others. Yeah. And like, certainly, you know, you can't share all information with everybody, but many people that we know, there's kind of like a personal version over here, and then there's like, oh, but this is me in the company, right? Yeah. And like, I can't do that, right? Yeah. And you seem to approach that differently.
I do, for two reasons. One, what we were just talking about, I want my team to feel like they are on the side of me, not behind me, right? I don't believe that that's the way you create long-lasting relationships with your employees. Like, I don't want to have churn. I don't want to have to replace people. So I've always just taken the approach that, look, if I'm me with them, they're either going to love me or they're going to hate me. And if they hate me, they'll move on. But if they love me and they love the fact that I take a different approach, I feel they'll be empowered. I think that they'll actually care about the company as opposed to just caring about their paycheck. You know, I have staff that truly like will challenge me on things because they feel like they're owners. They really want the company to win as opposed to just the company to survive so they can continue to get their check. The other thing is, I didn't get into entrepreneurship and owning my own business so I can have to be someone I'm not from 9 to 6 or whatever, right? So for me, it's like, and it's just been always in my DNA, is like, I'm going to be me, because if I'm going to be grinding it out, I want to grind it out in fun. I want to grind it out in my style. And that has really served us well, because again, you walk into our office and you feel the vibe, you feel the energy. And when you're interviewing either as an agent or as a staff member, you know that this is a different culture, it's a different environment, and it serves them and it also serves us. Like, you know, Oliver and I, we just want to be us. And if you don't like us, there's another place that will serve you.
I know that that's true of both of you, and Oliver's hilarious. You guys are very different, very different humans.
Yes.
But are unapologetically you in both situations.
Yeah.
I spend Oliver and I's, most of our time is spent evading business meetings in the name of surfing or going to a spa.
Yeah.
This is where most of our time is.
Yep. That's pretty much his MO.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a good way. Like,
It's fantastic.
yeah. And mine is avoiding business situations so I could go to the bar with you.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And somehow I end up being in all those places.
Yeah. You're really good at that.
I am, thank you.
Yeah.
Though, I will say that there was an era of your life where you wore suits all the time.
Yeah.
And you were like, I gotta have suits. I want to portray this thing.
Yeah.
How was that is that contrary to what we're talking about now, or was it a different era? Like, tell me about that.
Man, no one's ever asked me about this. It was a few things. I think that at its core of it is when I started the company, I'm 29 years old. Brokerages are not owned by 29-year-olds. I was doing a model that everyone said wouldn't work, right? So I was the underdog in a lot of those ways.
And that model, so people don't, or for anybody else, historically real estate brokerages split revenue, and they take the bulk of the revenue when an agent comes in. And there's variance here.
Yeah,
right?
a good chunk.
And you're a good chunk. And your idea is you keep 100% of it, and you pay a fixed monthly fee to be a part of the brokerage.
Yeah, fixed monthly fee and small transactions fee. But like you hinted towards earlier, that core business model on its own works really well, and there's great revenue if you have a lot of agents. But it got really exciting when we realized that the wake is bigger than the ship. What I mean by that is we've created a really big ship, Big Block Realty, big ship. And a lot of people just look at the boat. They say, damn, that's a big ass boat. But if you've ever stood like on the back of a cruise ship or a bigger boat and you look out the back, you see that wake almost as far as your eye can see. And that's how we look at our business is we have a big business, but the wake that it creates in terms of every time someone moves, there's about 55 different companies that get paid. Because there's so much involved with the transaction. There's the obvious things like mortgage, escrow, title, whatever. But a lot of people don't look at the fact that they're going to switch their utilities. Why aren't we getting paid on that? They're going to hire a mover. Why aren't we getting paid on that? They're going to probably hire a deep cleaner. They're going to go buy furniture. There's all these different revenue streams that are created on the backside of a single transaction that coming from the affiliate marketing world and the, marketing world that we're still in today, we saw that where most other brokers didn't. So we really started to stack our revenue by all of the ancillaries, either in terms of an affiliate or a marketing agreement or by owning or starting the company. But back to your point, originally I was wearing suits for two reasons. The first one that I was leading towards was a bit of imposter syndrome. Like I'm young, I'm recruiting people twice my age to come work at this
Take me
company.
seriously.
Yeah, so I felt like I needed to be taken seriously. And the other thing is my coach that I had back then and still have today, he's a very hardcore, conservative, if you're not wearing a suit and tie, you're a clown. That's what he's instilled in all of his followers.
Yeah.
And he's always said it's a way to separate yourself from the competition. And he's talking to agents. And he always would give this example that rang in my head. He would have someone in the audience that's suit and tied stand up, and someone that's probably dressed like this stand up. And before any words, he would ask the audience, these two agents show up, who's already got the job? And everyone would always say, the one in the suit and tie. So that was instilled in me very early on in my real estate career. But then when I became the boss, trying to recruit people, it was that imposter syndrome, which I think every entrepreneur has to a degree. So yeah, but then it's funny, as soon as I dropped the suit and tie and had a red cup in my hand on social, the engagement went through the roof, and people would join the company and they would say, dude, I love how you're so different. I love how I have this perception that you don't give a damn. I give a lot of damns, I really care what people think. But the day I decided to be me, it just really changed everything, and I like it better.
Yeah. Well, I think that, I like it better too. I mean, you're pretty in a suit, but.
Yeah. I try, only for you.
I like it better too. But I think also some of that is the era that we live in, right? So like, even if you rewind back to 13, 14, 15, it wasn't as socially acceptable to do it as it is today.
Sure.
It was socially acceptable, but not like it is today. And I think today, we live in a world where there are tons of different case studies where like the media that works is the iPhone video, not the professionally done video.
100%.
Right? Tons of case studies like that. And I think that when we have a world of employees that don't really want to be employed and want to, entrepreneurship is put on a pedestal, and we've got these now iconic figures because they're good business people. Mm-hmm. People want that, and they want it to feel real and connected and fun and part of their life. And you can relate. Everybody can relate. Most people can relate to the red Solo cup.
Yeah. The thing is I think that we have to remember this in sales and in culture is everybody wants to be able to look at where they're going in terms of the organization they work with, or the organization that they work with as a customer, or the organization that they work with as an employee. They want to be able to point to that organization and be damn proud of it, right? They want that to be a part of their social status to a degree. And the idea that, they can look at us and we're us and we have fun and we do things different. Our culture is like, it's funture, right? It's like, we're just going to do what we want to do, and we're going to work our faces off, and we're going to hustle, but we're also going to have a really good time along the way. And that attracts the type of people that we want. And it makes the noise online that in my world is really important, because most brokerages are just stuffy, and they're tired, and they're just flat out boring. So we document, as you've seen, so much of what happens behind the scenes, and we put it out for the world to see. And it just slowly over time starts to show our customers, the agents, this company's different. And if I'm ever considering a move, I'm at least going to give them a shot. And that's how we win. That's how we win a lot. And, there's always new, you might call them disruptors or innovators or whatever, that come into the space. And they'll just start to recruit like crazy with different offerings, whatever it is. And oftentimes, like, friends, competitors, they'll be like, dude, doesn't this piss you off that this agent's just taking so many agents and they're growing so fast? And to me, I'm like, no, I love it, because it creates movement. And if I do a good enough job of being known and becoming aware to people that we exist, the fact that these other companies are creating movement gives me an at-bat that I wouldn't have had otherwise. Because they're thinking, well, if I'm going to go talk to this other company, I've been watching these guys over at Big Block, I might as well go talk to them too. And it just creates opportunities that we wouldn't have. So now our competitors are almost creating more opportunities for us. When they do well, we do well. And one, that quiets the brain in terms of, oh man, I'm competing. And two, like, it helps us find another avenue to really win.
I love that. So one of the things that,
Are you ahead of me?
Yeah, obviously. You've been talking a lot. One of the things that we started with was, what has changed. We were talking about ink specifically, but what has changed from the beginning to now, right? Let's talk about that relative to culture. So like, you start and you say, hey, I want to build this thing. I've got this idea. We're going to go flat fee. It's different. You've got naysayers that in the industry because it's not a popular model. They're not sure if it's going to work, blah, 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 blah. But when you get going, most people don't say, hey, you know what I need? Actually, I think a lot of entrepreneurs do this in complete vain, and it's a total waste of time. There's this general narrative of you need a mission statement and core values, right?
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah.
And as a brand new, as a solopreneur, as a wantrepreneur, as a brand new person getting into business, you hear this from important people.
It's like 101 of what you're supposed to do when you get into business.
Exactly, right? And so you might put something on the wall, right? Here are my core values, here's my mission statement. And then it just lives there for years or whatever. Where do core values play in for you, and where did it change from the beginning to now, if at all? Is it a relevant consideration for you, or is it just an ethos that got created? Where does that fit for Big Block?
It's definitely lives. It lives on the wall, and it lives in the interview process, and we do it because you're supposed to do it, right? It's an obligatory thing, and I think most of it is just more you trying to stroke your own ego about what you're building, and a lot of times it just gets lost, right? So for us, again, dude, our success is very much tied to the word love. And a lot of people, I say that, and you know me, so I think you get it, but when I say love, people are like, what the hell does that mean, love? And I'm like, dude, like, I really love my people. Like, I love them, and I tell them I love them, Brad. Like, so, Corey, strong, New York, like, tough guy, one speed, always goes. And
he gets angry when I don't buy him tequila.
He gets angry when you don't buy him tequila. But my point is, this guy never really had, especially men, telling me they love him. And I do that with all my people. Sometimes it's weird with certain people, right? But I'm not shy to tell them, hey, I love you, man. Thanks for doing that. And for the first few months, they're like, okay, thanks. Okay, thanks. Now, almost every time I hang up the phone with Corey, he says, all right, bro, love you. Like he's talking to his brother, or he's talking to his dad, or whatever. Love, to me, is always the answer. Because if you create that environment of feeling loved for your customers, for your staff, they will die on a sword for you. Like they will take a bullet for you because they feel love. And most companies, a lot of leaders, they rule with that iron fist. And I this got instilled in me from my dad. Like I love my competitors. I love on my staff. I love on our agents. And that the basis of love then creates the question, well, how do people feel loved, right? What is their love language? And everyone has a different love language. And by creating an environment where they feel like they can talk to you, creating an environment that they feel like they can be themselves and not have to put on that armor, so to speak, when they come into work and be the soldier that they need to be. Like with us, we embrace everybody and make them feel that support and that love. And then that all carries over into, if the staff feels the love and they understand love, then what are they compelled to do with the customer? Create that same experience, right? And, it's gotten to the point today where I'll get messages from an agent or a customer, and they'll say, oh my gosh, thank you so much for sending the gift. And I'm like, cool. Have no idea what we sent them. But back in the day, it had to be me saying, hey, we got to create this experience. This person's family member got sick, or they had a baby. Let's send them things. Today, the staff just runs. They don't even ask for permission. They just do it. And, I remember it's probably a year ago, an agent calls me. She's like, well, thank you so much for having so-and-so call me. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm just going to be honest. What happened? And she said, well, Vanessa, who used to work with us at the time, Vanessa noticed that I hadn't been in the office for 2 weeks. And she just called to see how I was doing and everything is okay. You do that for people. Do you know how hard it is for your competitor to take them away? And you know how compelled they are to tell their friends and their family, yo, you got to use Brad. Like Brad's the man. So it sounds maybe gypsy, maybe weird, I don't know. But to me, it's why we win alongside a lot of other tactical things. But it's the core of how we drive.
Can I tell an inappropriate story about you?
How inappropriate?
It's not really. So we were hanging out a few weeks ago at your place, and you were telling me about your upbringing and your father and your relationship with your father. And you were saying, all through college, you would go like party with your pops, your friends would come over and party with your pops, and he created an environment that you wanted to be in and your friends wanted to be in, so much so that like you'd be out of town and your fucking friends would go over and hang out with your pops.
Yeah.
And just hang out.
They would just sleep at my house if I wasn't there. Like, and people, they'll hear this and they'll say, man, that's freaking weird.
Yeah.
But that what he created in that house, his agenda was, I'd rather have my son here than there, because I know what happens here.
Right. And so, and where we went with this and where that started was we were talking about your kids. And I got a chance to hang out with both of them quite a bit while we were there, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And you were saying, I want to I'll just keep buying toys. I'll buy all the stuff. I'm going to buy a boat. Like I'm going to, we've got a basketball hoop. Like I'm going to keep escalating because I want to create the environment that they want to be in and make sure that I'm relevant to be a part of this thing so that they want to keep being there.
Yeah.
And I think that the monetary items and how you do that isn't the relevant part. What is that you're creating an ecosystem that draws people in that they want to be a part of. And the through line, of course, is that's how you live your personal life. It's the way that you grew up. And the parallel in business should be very clear.
Yeah.
Which is if you do that in your company and you do it for people in your company, they just want to be a part of the environment.
It is. And again, it was instilled in me from the very beginning. My dad came to America when the revolution was happening in Iran, came here with nothing. He left over there thinking he was going to go back in a few weeks. Never went back. Like both my parents, they didn't know each other at the time, didn't even say bye to their friends. One morning they wake up and their parents are like, yo, you're getting out of here. Shit's getting crazy. You don't know, you're not saying bye to your friends. You'll be back soon. Both of them have never been back. So I say that because he came here broke, literally driving a Pinto, like literally a Pinto. And he got a job as a like warehouse clerk for a big furniture company, office furniture company. And fast forward to when he retired. He ended up going from that company that got acquired, kept getting acquired, and then he retired as an executive of a Fortune 500 company, managing thousands and thousands of people all over the world. The guy still can barely speak perfect English. He should not have been where he is. And at the end of his career, they make a video and they interview all of his, like, the people he really worked with to, like, give him a goodbye present. And dude, you had to see this. Like, the people in the warehouses were, like, cheering and making signs and, like, we love you, Hamid. We love you. We love you. And everyone that was interviewed, the tone with all of them was, you changed this company that who knows if it would even exist today. You changed this company by loving us and empowering us. And that was the tone with everybody. And some of these people, some of them are like strong from the Midwest, like, I got guns and I drink beer. But yeah, and they're like, in the video, they're like, dude, like, I won because you loved me and you believed in me and you encouraged me. And that's why the company turned into what it is today. And I just watched that my whole life. And I would question him. I'm like, Dad, this guy's doing you wrong. Why don't you, like, do something about it? He says, I do something about it by loving him. And if I love him enough, he'll come back around. And it's just how I was raised. And that's how I roll, dude. It's just what I know. And I'm not saying it's for everybody, but I will tell you that if you allow yourself the idea to make yourself vulnerable enough to be that person in your company, it won't show up the first day. It won't show up the second day. You can't quantify it. It doesn't equate out on any sort of like pro forma or business plan, but you do it and you make it part of your company and just magical things happen.
Yeah, man, that's beautiful. I like that a lot. And I think that the gap for most people is, look, I'm analytical as fuck, right? I run a finance company at the end of the day. One of the phrases that we use internally is professionally relaxed, because similar to the brokerage, finance is stodgy as fuck.
Yeah.
I definitely never want to live in the likes of Chase or Bank of America or Wells Fargo. Gross, right?
And that, by the way, that's very, very apparent in what is put out by you on social. Your office does not look like Chase or Visa.
Yeah. No.
You don't look like you run Chase or Visa. Right. And it attracts people, man.
Well, in where I was going with that is that so I'm analytical, and I want the ROI, and I want the output, and I want to quantify. Simultaneously, well, I always want to bridge the gap. So when you say, hey, it's one of those things that like, it just, trust me, it'll be good. I think one of the things that you can quantify, that you can look at for the people that are like, Sam got into some woo-woo shit just now, right? Happy, good, happy, feel good, love, 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 great. The other side of it is 56 on Inc. 500, 6 years running. 4 of those 6 are sub 100, right? Very, very low. That is quantification, right?
Right.
And the other side is you can look at things like, well, what's attrition been on staff, right? And you can do net promoter scores internally. And any entrepreneur, once you're past $1 million or past a couple million or whatever, once you're living in that space where you have to work on hiring and going through that ecosystem, I will tell you that you are remiss to not recognize the value of keeping good people in place. Because,
I mean, if you think about most interviews that you've seen where they're interviewing an exec of a company that just won or is winning, very rarely do you not somewhere in that interview hear them say, it wasn't me, it was the team.
Yeah.
It wasn't me, it was the team. Well, then the question becomes like, how do you create a team that cares so damn much that they're going to push with you and stick with you?
Yep.
And it's, dude, I know the word love sounds woo-woo, and you might not connect with it, but everybody wants to feel a level of support and love.
Of course.
And it's not like I'm walking around, hugging people and, oh, I love you, you're so sweet.
No.
But the overall feeling is this guy really does give a damn about me. And this guy is not afraid to say, hey, I love you.
Well, look, and the foundation of it is, put the specific words aside, the foundation of what you just said is when somebody sits in an interview and says, it wasn't me, it was the team, that is indicative of, it's not a question of how did that happen, it's indicative of their personality is to attribute things to the team, lean on the team, support the team, etc. You can say that as lip service, but if that is something that's coming out in your general commentary, it means that you value the team, right? Unless it's all lip service. You don't say that if you don't actually support the team.
And again, this goes back to like, why are we winning? I really believe we're winning because our service, our customer service is bar none, in my opinion, the best in my world.
And let me reframe that for a second, because for most people in most companies, what you just said is my support of my staff.
Is what creates that.
No, is that for most people, to you, agents are customers, but to most people, agents are staff.
Oh, correct.
Right? So you have this frame of like my immediate staff, and yes, they're 1099s, but your agents are representing Big Block Realty.
Correct.
Your agents are a direct extension of your staff, right? Yes. They are your staff, really. They are your sales force. And what you're doing is focusing all your energy on supporting them.
Yeah. And to the point is, how can I expect that my staff can create that wow and that love experience for our client, the agent, if they don't experience it inside the walls, right? You have to remember that your staff is always following your pace, right? And like, they're always watching, dude. They're always watching. You might not think that they're always watching, but they're always watching. And they pay attention to the littlest things. And those little things determine how they handle the little things with your client. So if you're selling, credit card processing, or you're selling cowboy boots, like if you look at Tony Hsieh's whole story, they were just selling fucking shoes, dude. I could go get shoes anywhere.
Yeah.
And frankly, shoes are one of the few things I want to actually try on before I buy them. But they built it off of, if we take so much care of our team and empower them, they will take so much care of the consumers that are buying our goods online that we will create repeat customers so they're going back to us to buy shoes as opposed to walking into a Nordstrom or Foot Locker. But that would never happen if you just said to them, we're going to be great at customer service. That's what we're all about. And unless you serve them the way you want them to serve your clients, there's going to be that gap of it just feeling like, again, the words that are on the wall. This is what we're about. But you got to create that culture and that experience so that they feel empowered and understand it to the degree that they can do it for your team without you having to be the one at the front of the line.
So let me go back to, you just have words on the wall, right? So we start and we say, hey, we've got core values, this is our mission statement, yada, yada. What I heard was, even today, that's not the point. That's not where you're living. And yes, you have it in the interview process and in some other places, but really that's not what you lean on or point to. It's something, is that correct? Like,
correct.
That's not like, because there are, like, I have a friend, Darius, that wrote this book, The Core Value Equation, and your mentalities are directly synced, but the execution of them is radically different. The execution for him is lean really heavily on this thing, build it into the ethos, make sure it's clear, catchy, functional, so that everybody remembers the values and they tie into them. And your approach seems to be, that's not important to me. What's important is that I just create the culture that exists that way.
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, I don't want to discount the core values and our mission statement. It's certainly things that we talk about, and it lives in our world. But it's not like, have you read The New Gold Standard?
With Ari Gold?
No.
Oh, he wrote a book very similar in title. No,
The New Gold Standard is about Ritz-Carlton.
Oh,
and how they've created. If you've ever stayed at a Ritz, you know that they do it better than anybody. The service there is impeccable. That's a company that really leaned into their core values so much to the point that everyone's carrying them in their pocket.
Oh, right, yeah.
You walk into any Ritz-Carlton, you go to any employee and say, can I see your, what do they call it? Your
Intel acquisition.
Intel acquisition.
Yeah, yes.
And you ask them, can I see, I forget what they call it. Anyways, can I see their core values? And they all have it in their pocket and they live it. And so there's no, you have to do it this way or that way. Yeah. But if you want it to live in your customer's eyes, it has to live in your employee's eyes, right? If you want your customer to feel it, your employee has to feel it. And that at the core of it is, I guess what I'm saying is, you gotta lead with them the way you want them to lead with your customer. And it's just worked for us. And look, there's a lot of tactical things. I'm not sitting here saying, we're winning because we just love people and everything's great. It's not great. A lot of times it freaking sucks and it's rough. So there's a lot of tactics that I'm sure you've done in a lot of these other videos. But I think the thing that people just don't talk about is, how do you create an environment that creates the results that you want for your people? And that's what's worked for us.
I love it, man. Well, I appreciate you coming out, Sammy K.
Thanks for having me.
Where do people find you if they want to, if they care, if they weren't totally bored by our conversation?
Yeah, they probably were. Well, you can find me on Instagram or Facebook, Instagram or Facebook.
OnlyFans? Your OnlyFans page?
Well, they just shut down my OnlyFans, so.
I think you should buy Sammy K for everything.
Sammy K?
Well, your last name's horrific to spell out.
It is horrific to spell.
Yeah. But Sam Khorramian, I appreciate you coming out, homie.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Definitely, man.
If you learned one thing on this episode, share it with another entrepreneur. They need to hear it. Also subscribe so that new episodes just show up on your phone. It's a lot easier that way. And if you want the really good stuff, check out our free BAM! Tactics and Strategies course. It's where we curate the best tips, tricks, and tools that our guests know, whether they've shared them on the podcast or not. Just go to beyondamill.com. You'll also find previous episodes and show notes at beyondamill.com.